Good evening, you're watching Mongolian World. I'm your host, Sukhbaatar. And for our top stories, protests at Sukhbaatar Square. Mongolian Airways adds a new airbus passenger aircraft to its fleet. COVID-19 during pregnancy increases the risk of complications. And for other news, stay tuned. On Sunday, December 4th, thousands of people gathered at Sukhbaatar Square in Ulaanbaatar city to protest the government's lack of action in resolving the country's issues. They voiced their concerns about corruption, governmental inefficiency, injustice, debt and inflation.
The protests signaled a breaking point for people struggling to keep up with rising living costs. They accused the government of neglecting its duty to remedy the situation and forcing people to consider leaving the country. The inflation rate in Mongolia has reached a record high. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, border closures, and geopolitical and regional issues, prices for consumer goods have skyrocketed. The Mongolian tugrik's exchange rate has plummeted against the US dollar, and consumer purchasing power has been in steady decline. The peaceful demonstration started at Sukhbaatar Square, followed by a march to Ichtingar Mountain, where the residences of state officials are located. The entrance to Ichtingar was blocked off by police. Young people stripped naked in the freezing cold in a call to expose alleged coal thieves. They demanded accountability from Prime Minister Yurden and the exposure of officials involved in allegations of coal smuggling and corruption.
Mongolian Airways received a new addition to its fleet at Sukhbaatar International Airport, an Airbus A320-200 passenger aircraft. The Airbus will be the first in Mongolia's civil aviation industry to be used for passenger transport. Mongolian Airways administrators say the aircraft will conduct regular passenger flights to Asian and European aviation hubs such as Berlin, Singapore, Urumqi and Shanghai. The government of Mongolia has announced a campaign to promote Mongolian tourism from 2023 through 2025. The aviation industry plays an important role in meeting the goals and objectives of the government's long-term plan for the liberalization of the air transport sector and tourism development. Officials say that until now, Mongolia's Airbus planes have only been used for freight transportation. Mongolian Airways has received the Airbus aircraft. The company has permission to conduct flights for 7 different routes, including Singapore and Berlin. The Airbus A320 belongs to one of the world's most successful aircraft families. A320-200 aircraft are the forefront when it comes to environmental protection thanks to their CFM56 engines. In 1987, the Airbus A320 became the first passenger aircraft in the world to be completely controlled by the then revolutionary fly-by-wire system. This digital control technology is now standard. The short and medium-haul aircraft is used on flights with a range of up to 3,600 kilometers. Contracting COVID-19 during pregnancy poses the risk of complications that can affect pregnancy and fetal development. For example, a COVID-19 infection during pregnancy increases the risk of preterm delivery, delivery earlier than 37 weeks, and stillbirth. According to the doctors, 70% of pregnant women in Mongolia who contracted COVID-19 were not vaccinated.
Mongolia's National Center for Maternal and Child Health surveyed 421 pregnant women in 2021 and found that 74% of the women surveyed were not vaccinated against COVID-19. Doctors now warn that a COVID-19 infection during pregnancy can cause many unwanted complications. Of course, not getting vaccinated increases the risk of infection. As we've observed, COVID-19 infection causes complications in the last trimester of pregnancy, increasing the risk of preterm delivery or miscarriage. Surprisingly, pregnant women with health issues such as heart disease and high blood pressure who have been vaccinated suffer milder symptoms of COVID-19 and have fewer complications. Certain underlying medical conditions and other factors, including age, can further increase the risk of getting very sick from COVID-19 during or just after pregnancy. Therefore, doctors advise women planning to get pregnant to get vaccinated. We interviewed some patients to get a better understanding of their concerns. Since I'm allergic to antibiotics, I had a prescription. During the 32nd and 33rd weeks of pregnancy, I was really tired and my immunity dropped. I think that's when I got COVID. I had my 3 vaccinations before getting pregnant. Plus, I have a heart condition, so I think my condition could have gotten worse quickly. I think I have pretty mild symptoms thanks to the vaccines. Doctors say people who contract COVID-19 during pregnancy are more likely to experience complications that can affect their pregnancy and fetal development than those who avoid contracting COVID-19 during pregnancy.
Thank you for staying with us. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs. According to the National Agency of Meteorology and Environmental Monitoring, December is expected to be colder than average temperatures in recent years in the western, central and northeastern parts of Mongolia. Less snow is expected in the western regions and Gobi provinces. High snowfall is expected in Mongolia's central region. The National Agency of Meteorology and Environmental Monitoring advises herders and rural area residents to complete winter preparations. Here's the international news from our partner agencies. Neglecting COVID-19 this year is creating the perfect conditions for a deadly new variant to emerge, the head of the World Health Organization said on Friday.
The comments by WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus marked a change in tone just months after he said that the world has never been in a better position to end the pandemic. The Global Health Agency estimates that about 90% of the world's population now has some level of immunity to SARS-CoV-2, either due to prior infection or vaccination.
There are more than 500 subvariants of Omicron that are in circulation right now. Most of these are the BA.5 sublineage, but there are a number of other sublineages, and the dynamics of this virus are very different around the world. We need to be able to track this. We need to be able to assess this with our technical partners around the world so that we can look at how these variants behave in terms of transmission, in terms of immune escape, in terms of severity, and to make sure that our interventions work. And my last point is that the interventions do work. I'll mention vaccines again, but the other tools that we have at our disposal, distancing, improving ventilation, those will be beneficial no matter what variant is circulating. But our vaccines are holding up incredibly well against severe disease and death.
COVID-19 infections are at record highs in China and have started to rise in parts of Britain after months of decline. 19 testing requirements and quarantine rules in some Chinese cities was met with a mix of relief and worry on Friday, as hundreds of millions await an expected shift in national virus policies after widespread social unrest. While COVID-19 and flu can be mild infections for many, we must not forget that they can cause severe illness or even death for those most vulnerable in our communities, Mary Ramsey, Director of Public Health Programs at the UK Health Security Agency, said. The WHO urged governments globally to focus on reaching those at risk, such as people over the age of 60 and those with underlying condition for vaccination.
Around 50 people are gathered outside the Chinese embassy in London on Sunday to express solidarity with people in China and protest against Chinese leader Xi Jinping.
The latest protest follows the largest and most widely spread demonstrations in decades in mainland China erupted November 25th after a fire in an apartment building in the northwestern city of Urumqi killed at least 10 people. This set off angry questions online about whether firefighters or victims trying to escape were blocked by locked doors or other antivirus controls. Authorities denied that, but the deaths became a focus of public frustration. Some protesters in the central London were seen to hold a blank paper, which is a symbol of defiance used by some protesters in China against the ruling Communist Party's widespread censorship. One of the protesters, who declined to be named, said people in China have kept their heads low for years, hoping that things would get better, but in fact things have not got any better for people.
For years, they have been just keeping their head low, hoping by next year, by next month, things will get better, hoping by cooperating with the party, things will get better. But no, it doesn't get better. And I was enraged by the fire especially, because it's such a man-made problem where, under the disguise of a scientific COVID control scheme, people are forced to be locked inside their homes.
I think for a lot of us who are Chinese, our world has changed overnight in the sense that this is the biggest movement since 1989. And I think for us, it also means that, very crucially, we have to learn the histories of all these movements and why they failed against the CCP and try and establish what the next steps therefore are to actually wage a successful struggle against the CCP. And I think that requires for us to recognize fundamentally that the CCP is a capitalist dictatorship. It's a dictatorship of billionaires, including Xi Jinping and his own personal family, which are extremely rich.
The country saw several days of protests across cities, including Shanghai and Beijing, with protesters demanding an easing of COVID-19 curbs. Some demanded Chinese President Xi Jinping step down. An extraordinary show of public dissent in society over which the ruling Communist Party exercises near total control.
About 1,700 seals have been found dead on the Caspian Sea coast in southern Russia, officials said on Sunday. The authorities in the Russian province of Dagestan said that it's still unclear what caused the animal deaths, but they likely died of natural causes.
Regional officials initially said Saturday that 700 dead seals were found on the coast, but on Sunday, Zaur Gapizov, head of the Caspian Environmental Protection Center, said, according to the state RIA Novosti news agency, that after a broader inspection of the coast, the number of dead animals was 1,700. Gapizov said the seals likely died a couple of weeks ago. There was no sign that they were killed by poachers. Experts of the Federal Fisheries Agency said prosecutors inspected the coastline and collected data for laboratory research, which didn't immediately spot any pollutants. Several previous incidents of mass deaths of seals were attributed to natural causes. The data about the number of seals in the Caspian varies widely. The Fisheries Agency has said the overall number of Caspian seals is 270,000 to 300,000, while Gapizov's center put the number at 70,000.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Lionel Messi scored in what was the 1000th game of his storied career as Argentina beat Australia 2-1 to advance to the World Cup quarterfinals. Captaining his national team for the 100th time, Messi ignited this last 16 match midway through the first half, curling home cutly after some neat build-up play, his 789th career goal. Messi put Argentina ahead in the 34th minute with his third goal at this year's tournament and 9th World Cup goal in total. That goal takes him one ahead of Diego Maradona, who scored 8 World Cup goals. In the second half, Julian Alvarez capitalized on some slack goalkeeping by Australia's topper Matt Ryan to score his second goal of the tournament and extend Argentina's lead. Just when it looked like Argentina might run away with proceedings, Craig Goodwin's deflected strike from outside the box nested in the bottom corner to set up an exciting finale, but Argentina was able to hold out. Aziz Behich looked as if he might snatch an unlikely equalizer, but Lisandro Martinez's last-ditch tackle deflected the Australian defender's shot, following a slaloming run past a succession of Argentina defenders. The victory means Argentina will face the Netherlands on Friday in the quarterfinals, after the Dutch beat the US men's national team 3-1 early on Saturday. Olivier Giroud became France's all-time leading goalscorer after he took his tally to 52 for the national team in the 3-0 win over Poland in the last 16 at the 2022 World Cup on Sunday. Olivier Giroud became France's all-time leading man goal scorer as the World Cup holders coasted past Poland to reach the quarterfinals. The AC Milan striker scored his 52nd goal for France to claim the country's outright record, surpassing the great Thierry Henry. The historic goal came on the stroke of halftime after Giroud controlled Kylian Mbappe's pass before converting low into the net beyond the reach to Wojciech Szczesny. But having provided the assist for the first goal, the brilliant Mbappe turned on the style by scoring two fabulous strikes in the second half. He hit a powerful drive into the roof of the net from 16 yards for his first and curled home a wonderful second in injury time to take the lead in the Golden Boot race with 5 goals. Didier Deschamps' side had been left frustrated up until the opener and could well have fallen behind. Poland's best opening in the first half came when the ball dropped from Piotr Zielinski in the center of the penalty area, but his strike was straight out Hugo Lloris. Robert Lewandowski did manage to add consolation for the Poles, rolling in the penalty with the last kick of the game. France will play England in the quarterfinals on Saturday, December 10th, after England beat Senegal 3-0. Polish goalkeeper Szczesny was unable to stop Mbappe from breaking another record as he surpassed Pele's tally of scoring 7 World Cup goals before the age of 24. The 23-year-old, who celebrates his next birthday 2 days before the final, scored both his goals came from similar position in the penalty area to take his World Cup goals to 9 in 11 matches. He has scored 16 goals in his past 14 games for France and 33 overall from 63 appearances. Here's the weather forecast of all 2 major cities. Well, that's all for today and thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.